I know we're taking this back a little bit, but who dropped the ball?
We dropped the ball. We have to take ownership.
Okay.
And agree we dropped the ball. There are countries where the people in those countries have never benefited from the minerals and resources that are being birthed from our motherland.
You mean a total blackout?
Yes.
A total internet blackout?
Yes.
Who owns Africa's internet and who benefits most when control is compromised? With over 600 million Africans now online and that number rapidly rising, the question of who controls Africa's internet infrastructure grows more urgent every day. The internet is now fundamentally shaping our financial systems, governance structures, education, healthcare, everything. Yet even as Africa's digital participation soars, the continent risks ceding control of this critical digital infrastructure to external entities. Could Africa once again find itself trading sovereignty for external promises, reminiscent of the choices our forefathers made during the colonial era? Welcome to Tech Talk Africa, where we move beyond the headlines to critically examine not just who's shaping our continent's digital future, but how, why, and for whose benefit. We unpack the forces, policies, and interests driving Africa's tech landscape, ensuring you're informed about the deeper dynamics at play. I'm your host, Stella Gichuhi. Today, we focus on AFRINIC, the African Network Information Center. While AFRINIC remains mostly visible to everyday internet users, it plays a critical role in allocating internet resources across the continent. Its recent governance challenges could expose Africa's digital infrastructure to external influence, potentially creating conditions, again, reminiscent of historical colonial exploitation. Though this is not yet the reality, it's an urgent risk. Joining me today is my friend, my mentor, Fiona Asonga. She's the CEO of TESPOK, the Technology Service Providers of Kenya, and a respected voice advocating for ICT sovereignty in Africa. Thank you, Fiona.
Thank you so much, Stella, for having me.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. Every time we sit together, we're always talking about what's happening in the tech scene. How can we champion it, not just for Kenya, but across the continent.
True.
Now, before we get into the meat of the discussion, just to clarify, what exactly is AFRINIC and why is its autonomy crucial to avoiding digital neocolonialism on the continent?
Basically, like you've said in the introduction, AFRINIC is the African Internet Registry. But what does this registry do for us? This registry is responsible for the management and distribution of internet numbering resources, which are the IP address spaces and the autonomous system numbers. So we are familiar with IPv6 in our conversations. That is one of the versions of the IP numbering resources that are managed by AFRINIC. There is IPv4, there is IPv6. Then we've got what we call the ASNs. A lot of technical people talk about ASNs, which is the autonomous system numbers. And this service is offered for the entire region, the whole of Africa. So we have one registry where we do this. Globally, there are other registries. So in total, making 5 registries. We've got LACNIC for Latin America, ERIN for North America, RIPE NCC for the European region, and then EPINIC for the Asian and Pacific regions. Then Africa and the Indian Ocean Islands have got AFRINIC. Those are the 5 registries that exist. And all these registries then come together under the Number Resource Organization, which is the global body where they meet and agree on global numbering policies and are then brought together at ICANN under the Address Supporting Organization, through which they are able to interact with ICANN and the ICANN community on numbering resource, the number side of things. Remember, ICANN is the Internet Corporation of Assigned Names and Numbers. So we are the numbers people that make ICANN.
Thank you for that, Fiona. So I'm guessing each entity, there's a sense of ownership, right? So AFRINIC,
Yes,
the
there is.
Africans own it.
Yes.
The Latin American version,
Yes.
people of Latin American descent own it. So the sense of ownership,
Yes,
right?
there is.
Now, the reason we're having this conversation today is that AFRINIC could essentially not belong to us anymore. And going on to that, what is the significance of losing control over this organization? We as Africans, because from where I'm standing is, I'll wake up and no longer have the internet. I'll not own the internet. I'm a stakeholder. So if you could just delve deeper into that, that'd be much appreciated.
That's a very scary statement you've made, that we could wake up and find we don't own our internet anymore. But the truth of the matter is that when AFRINIC was set up, it was a consultation of various African entities who participated in that discussion to even agree on how AFRINIC would be set up and where it would be set up. And when the trustees at that time came together in 2021, forming a steering committee to appoint a board and to get the board to set up AFRINIC, Mauritius was an ideal location. And looking at the nature of what AFRINIC does for this region, it was expected that AFRINIC would have been protected, set up in a manner that protects it and protects our resources and our ecosystem. That said and done, it was what it was. And we find that today we are in a situation where it was possible for the possibility of capture. And so we find that we have been captured by a judicial system and one member, yet there are more than 2,000 members of AFRINIC. Those are the resource holders across the entire continent who should also be heard, who have equal rights with the one resource member who seems to be pushing for issues and things that we are not in agreement with or we may not have clarity on, and not giving us time to engage and discuss. So that said and done, the whole fight between this resource member and the registry has put us in a situation where we are under receivership today. We are at the risk of liquidation, and we have no governance structures. There's no board, there is no CEO. In essence, the absence of a CEO means no clear management. So we are really being beaten from every side.
Wow, Fiona, that's a lot to unpack. So I want to hone in on the word captured and resources. When you say captured and resources, as a tech and political science person, you're taking me back to when, our resources as Africans were captured. When gold was being captured, when our people were being captured, that's where a resource. Now it's internet capture. It still is. No, it is. So it's like the capturing of resources has transferred onto the internet space. Now, if these resources are being captured, we are simply repeating the historical mistakes of our forefathers, and we're making it a lot worse. So then, going back to what you said, you've now brought in the conversation about the governance issues. This problem has been, would you call it a problem? This issue, this governance matter, this challenge has been going on for quite some time now. And though these matters are still evolving legally, why should we as Africans view these challenges as potential entry points for external influence? I mean, we already have enough external influence. Now it's internet external influence. What's going on there?
I think if you asked me, and this is pretty much my personal opinion and view of the current status, and maybe others may not agree with it, but I believe the fact that even today, we still have parts of Africa under colonial capture And I apologize for having to use the word colonial capture in this day and age. It may be offensive to others.
But it's the reality, isn't it?
Yes, it is the reality. There are countries where the people in those countries have never benefited from the minerals and resources that have been birthed from our motherland. And they are not about to benefit from them anytime soon until Africa changes how we address some issues. The view that the entities coming in from outside may have better is one of our weakest points. And it's one of the points at which I think even our colonial masters had entry into our space. When you think about it, like Victoria was always there. We just didn't call it Victoria.
No, we didn't.
But when you listen to the folklore from the communities around there, the lake existed.
It did, yeah.
You know, there is the story of this beautiful girl who came from the lake. And when her husband was promiscuous, she went back to the lake and the whole village followed her.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Why did that happen? Because we knew the lake existed and the lake meant something to us. But we are told, oh, the lake was discovered, like Victoria was discovered by someone. And we're wondering, how did they discover it? And we had people living around the lake.
Exactly.
What do they mean they discovered it?
Exactly. Same as Mount Kenya, it was Mount Kirinyaga.
Yes.
You know, a lot in South Africa, in Nigeria.
The River Nile.
You know, the River Nile. There's always
the pyramids of Egypt. And you're wondering, how did they discover? Yet it was culturally ingrained in our lives and part of our existence.
I hear you on that one. Well, we can't do much on the discovery, you know, of and there's traditional names for these.
Yes, they are.
You know,
they are.
Mount Kenya was Mount Kirinyaga. Mm-hmm. If we had, you know, I hope South African listeners, if you can tell us what was the original name of something. I know Zimbabwe was Matabele land until actually no, it went to Matabele land, and it went to Rhodesia land, and then it went to Zimbabwe. There's always the original name, then an external name, then the name that everybody wants to consume. But now bringing it back to tech, you know, that's colonial matters around resources. We can't really resolve them overnight, but now this is actually impacting the sector. I just wanted to ask you, you know, statistically, our user base on the continent, our internet user base is exceeding 600 million, and it's growing, you know, at 20% annually statistically. Now, how might external control impact businesses, innovators, researchers, citizens across the internet? And I've given you a whole breadth, you know. For me personally, as an aspiring student, as a parent, I need the internet. I use it within the lines of course, morality and what have you. But what does an external takeover look like?
Right now, with where we are at, we've gone through a period where new ISPs, new service providers, were not being allocated resources. And that's dangerous. Our governments have come together and they have worked on digital economy blueprints, which they are all trying to implement. So they all have these digital economy strategies. When you look at all those strategies, the common factor across all these strategies is the fact that they are wanting to connect the 1 billion plus population of this continent. They want everybody connected. They want to deliver services to the population over digital platforms. Then here we are in a situation where the digital platforms cannot be activated because there is no IP address being issued to those that are deploying them, those that need the resources to deploy. What does that mean? It means then the government agenda for digital growth cannot happen. So basically, our discussions, if we take Kenya, for example, where we have a digital blueprint, a digital strategy, cloud strategy, national broadband strategy, AI strategy.
You name it, it's there. There's
we have all this in place, but we cannot deploy them in the air. We need IP resources.
Amen to that. And the AU recently released their AU Continental Strategy. So how will these strategies, to echo what you're saying, be deployed in the air? You know, I remember when we served in the ICT sector working group, and you were very passionate about allocation of internet allocation, you know, a moral, ethical allocation, because the future is tech. The future is our young people, myself. We trade over the internet. You know, when you're looking for a cute pair of shoes, where am I going to? Instagram, learning, digital learning. And it's interesting for me as well because Kenya's now top 3 ChatGPT users globally. So we are using ChatGPT the way we're using it globally. And then overnight, no, actually, you can't access ChatGPT. It's not making sense. It's still not making sense to me.
But we are at a risk of that happening if something doesn't put a stop to the ongoing activities that have been going on. But we've seen efforts, at least the Gazette notices from the Prime Minister of Mauritius and Minister of Defense, and from His Excellency the President of Mauritius, have been very supportive in terms of providing some form of direction and clarity in the next steps and what needs to be done to help us protect our infrastructure. Because as it was prior to that, there is the risk of a court deciding, fine, wind it up. What does winding up mean? It means we shut down everything. It means we shut down the WHOIS. We shut down the routing system. We shut down everything. And that would mean darkness for a period of time as we figure out, so who's going to handle, how do we handle the routing? Who's going to handle what for us? What can the backup do in the meantime? Who's going to manage it? Who do we, there's things that need to be worked through if we are to attempt to let Mauritius do the winding up and shutting down, and we continue to operate from somewhere else. There's a bit of work that needs to go into it, and we haven't worked on that yet.
So taking it back to shutting down, you mean a total blackout?
Yes.
A total internet blackout?
Yes.
Oh dear.
From my technical understanding, that is what it's going to be, because for starters, the way we configure our equipment, we like to know who we are communicating with. And we use the ASNs and the IP addresses, referencing the WHOIS database that the registry manages for us to be able to communicate. So if the registry is off, it means it's like you coming to me without your face, with a mask on your face, and I'm supposed to let you in. Now, I'm not so sure that is Stella. She sounds like her, but that face, I don't know. How do I identify her? Because that is what identifies us on the communication platforms.
And what are I'm just trying to imagine the economic implications of a total internet shutdown. You know, M-Pesa can't be down for a significant time. There's other platforms. You know, we're talking internet banking. We're talking
M-Pesa, the banking then
systems,
a lot of the revenue authorities on the continent have gone digital.
Yes.
So government's revenue collections will be totally messed up. If we take KRA alone,
yes,
on a daily basis, I can estimate, this is my estimate of KRA's revenues being between about 8 billion Kenyan shillings daily that they collect from the different taxes that need to be filed and penalties and all been put together, and clearance of cargo at the ports and all.
And then there's eCitizen.
Then there is eCitizen. So already when you start putting that together, then now you add just M-Pesa alone, then add the banking, and you realize Kenya alone, I think it would come to close to a couple of billion of US dollars. And
that's Kenya alone.
That's Kenya alone.
So we've not talked about the East African community.
No, not yet added the rest of East Africa.
SADC, COMESA members. ECOWAS.
Some of the highest populated areas of Africa is in ECOWAS, with Nigeria leading in the terms of the population. So the business activity taking place online is very...
Oh my word. And that's just on the government side. Let's talk startups. How much money is being generated from startups? Job creation, the gig economy, creative economy. It's mind-blowing.
It is.
It's extremely mind-blowing. And I want to just go back to the government's role with AFRINIC. This is one of those situations that for once we can't blame government. Government gets a day off in this matter. Speaking to about some of our governments. But you've said the Mauritian government wants to step in. Just clarify that part. Are they stepping in?
They have already.
They've stepped in. Okay.
Gazette notices.
Okay.
The president has appointed an inspector who's supposed to look into AFRINIC's activities.
Okay.
And the inspector is also supposed to look into all the cases that have been filed by the different parties to assess the validity, the local standing, the validity of these cases to determine, according to the Gazette notice, to determine whether there was malice.
Okay.
Because anything that is been put in, just maliciously been thrown at AFRINIC, now that will be identified, to listen to the community and see to what extent AFRINIC serves the region. And I think that's the exciting part for us.
Okay, great.
So, yeah, there's the Mauritian government has stepped in.
Okay.
And I think it's having listened and talked to the president of Mauritius at the UNIGF in Norway.
And what's the IGF?
The UNIGF is the Internet Governance Forum, where we meet to discuss internet governance matters. So this is one of the critical internet governance matters for this continent.
Okay.
I'm happy to see that he understood.
And should he be rallying the rest of the presidents on the continent? Because Mauritius is a small nation. You've just highlighted that Nigeria has a huge population and they are on the internet.
I think we need to give him the honor and respect he deserves.
Yeah.
When your kitchen is in a mess, do I come in to help you? I give you time to clean it up. I think we need to respectfully allow the government of Mauritius to try and put things right for us and support them as a community by doing what is right. And that really begs on our level of ethics as individuals. This, I think, for those who are paid by third parties to interfere with AFRINIC in any way, whether you made $500, $200, $1,000, $300, $5,000, you pocketed the money, good for you. Now, get back on track.
In fact, should you be even getting back on track? You should be fired, shouldn't you?
If you own your own business and you're a stakeholder and you did accept $5,000, really, we are not going to fire you, but we'll tell you, you've taken the money, fine.
Yeah.
Get out of that arrangement. Yeah. Get back onto your track. So getting back on track means that we still need to work as a community to have an election.
Yeah.
We still need to have a board in place.
Okay.
It's only when we have a board in place that we shall be able to now go back and begin to operate according to our bylaws properly. Okay. It's sort of impossible to try and force the judicial system to assess issues as per our bylaws when in some areas our bylaws are not in alignment with the Companies Act. So the Company Act takes precedence. We need to upgrade our bylaws, and that can only be done when we have a board in place and we are able to plan and arrange for that and have the right teams to do that. So our our most critical and basic requirement right now is to have a board in place. And then now have a discussion with the board on the key priority areas that the board should be able to address and have clear timelines and targets of how to do it. And this time round, we are hoping that we shall have an election that is going to use our AFRINIC platform that we've used over the years, that is not going to require power of attorneys.
Great.
So any third parties calling entities for power of attorneys right now, those are irrelevant.
Okay.
We want an election without, and AFRINIC have committed to having the election without power of attorneys so that there is less interference at that level. And let's just be ethical and think ethically and do what is right.
in this day and age, I just want to ask who stands to, we've talked about the negative impact, right? Who stands to benefit? You've mentioned whoever received $500, $2,000. Who stands to benefit when we fall apart? Why is this problem not a Latin American version? Why Africa? Why us? Is it because we're an unethical people? Were there loopholes? I know we're taking this back a little bit, but who dropped the ball?
We dropped the ball. We have to take ownership.
Okay.
And agree we dropped the ball.
Okay.
All of us are in it. I included. We dropped the ball.
That's major accountability there, Fiona.
And I say I included because I'm part of the community.
Yes.
As a community,
yes.
Some of us dropped the ball, but not by not being very active.
Okay.
When you're not an active participant, you've dropped the ball.
Okay.
When you assume others are there doing it and therefore it's okay, you've dropped the ball. When you're an active participant but not participating ethically, you've dropped the ball. When you are an active participant participating correctly but you're scared and fearful of others who are doing things wrongly, you've dropped the ball. And I think some of us were being fearful of just putting everything out there. And that's why I say, yes, each of us has dropped the ball. I'm not going to point a finger at anybody, knowing that I'm very much part of this community. And when we last reviewed our bylaws, we should have spoken up stronger about some of the gaps we are seeing.
Okay.
When we are developing our regional policies for IP address management and issuing, we should have been more vocal about things we saw that were not okay. But you see, when you have agreement by consensus, it means we're not voting for something, but there has to be a general agreement that it is okay. And consensus building requires a lot of lobbying and a lot of give and take. And that therefore means that sometimes you say, okay, fine, I'll give up this for this. But was that a right way to do it? No. And so we need to go back and review how we work and how we operate, and even assess and consider what consensus should mean for us and how that consensus should be achieved. Because having people come in the room and speak and say, I oppose what Fiona says without any clear justification doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't. I agree with you.
If Fiona is saying something that can help all of us, let us accept it. Let us come together and work together to move together and build it. And that therein lies the crux of the genesis of our problem. And we need to have an open mind every time we come into our conversations, and not think of it in terms of it is Fiona, she's Anglo-speaking.
Yes, I actually wanted to touch on that. Anglo-speaking Africa and French-speaking
Africa. And then we've got Arabic-speaking Africa.
Exactly, and Arab-speaking Africa,
And we've got Portuguese-speaking Africa.
Yeah.
So when we begin to, we seem to have an African problem of our tribal allegiances and alliances that we end up magnifying and moving it into regional and all this. And we should get out of that. And so while we would want to get out of that, there is a need for us to be honest with ourselves.
Yes, there is.
Painfully honest. And to realize that those allegiances do not help us.
This reminds me of when the president of Rwanda a few months ago, when it was a summit, and he said, we all come together, we agree on something, and we don't implement the reforms. And we need to think of it this way, as like nobody's coming out there to save us. Would you say this is a similar scenario of nobody's coming out there to save us? It's our internet. We have to own it. It's our resource. We have to own it. There's a time and a place for allegiances. There's a time and a place for, actually, as East Africans, this is how we operate. But because the internet is the one thing that is bringing us all together, that is forcing us to have a conversation, then and there, should you then say, actually, no, let's come together as one voice? Is that what you're communicating?
Yes, we've had for the longest time a motto, a mantra, so to say. At the global level, one world, one internet, one world.
Okay.
And the internet is the internet because it is one internet.
Yes.
There's a lot of geopolitics that has come into the tech and internet space.
Yeah, there is, yeah.
That is affecting and almost threatening this one internet. And we should be able to rise above that. And just, we should, as internet practitioners, go the Gen Z where we are tribeless.
Yep.
We are languageless. We are basically tech, period.
I think when it comes to the
we
internet,
have no allegiances.
You're right, because when you're in a room full of, when me and you have been in spaces where you have a delegation from, I don't know, South Africa, from Nigeria, when we're talking internet, it's never about which tribe are you from?
No.
You look like you're from here. It's it's the internet that has brought us to this room.
Exactly.
And it's only when you go into the breakaway sessions that now you say, as a resident of Lesotho, this is why I need the internet. But the reason you're there is the internet.
Exactly.
Okay, so we need to operate like that. Thank you, Fiona.
Yes, we do.
Now, outside of the internet governance forum, the spaces you sit in, how can African civil society, regulators, and tech organizations ensure, one, we don't repeat such mistakes, and two, why do they need to be worried about this? We've talked about the economic implications, the job implications, but bringing it down to now the different sectors of society. Why should they be worried, and what do they need to do to make sure we don't end up here? Because it affects them at the end of the day, isn't it? And they'll be the ones turning around saying it's your fault, but why did they not get involved in the first place?
I think the challenge has been the lack of awareness. And every time we're talking about AFRINIC, many people do not think of how they get connected. They just know.
They're connected. It's automatic.
Connected. Oh, please.
Yeah.
I get my Airtel or Safaricom dongle and I put it in and I've got connectivity.
Your Vodacom,
We do not understand what happens behind all that. Some don't even understand that there's a different numbering system for GSMA that is different from the IP for the internet. And so for them, I'm connected. Me have bundles, I'm good. I'm happy to go.
Yep.
And then the few times you've had people talk about IPs and they've talked about the GSMS system, they don't understand the random IP allocation mechanism that works to make sure when you're on a mobile, that dynamic IP assignment is happening, that is keeping you connected, and therefore phones do not get tied to IP addresses. So, and so the understanding of how that technical space works is not something many people pay attention to. So getting awareness on the AFRINIC issue has been a bit of a long journey, so to say, and we still have work to do on that. Even helping governments understand, helping the ISPs understand what it means to assign a part of your IP address block to a third party and the implications of it. When I own a house and I invite people to stay in my house, it gets to a point where if the people staying in that house are criminals and the house belongs to me, I will be held liable for it because I'm the one put down as the registered owner. So when you are the registered owner of the property, you need to know what your tenants are doing. You do not give out your house without knowing what business the tenant is involved in. Because if the tenant will be involved in illegal business, you will be held liable. You will be part and parcel of the arrangement.
And people are not realizing this. And
people are just beginning to awaken to this fact. So on the internet space, when you give out a part of your IP address block, you are liable for it because you are the one who's registered as the owner of that block. If anyone misuses it, uses it wrongly, you are ultimately the one person who will be held liable. And therefore, it's you who will be accountable to law enforcement. If there are issues that pertain to criminal activity that warrant you a jail term, you will be the one going to jail.
And have we had people going to jail?
And you cannot transfer, say I transferred power of attorney to a third party.
Yes. No, it was you. You are the one who transferred it without doing your due diligence checks. And has anyone been sent to jail? Has anyone been held liable?
I think the inspection being undertaken by the government of Mauritius is now going to determine that, because there's been a lot of situations and there's a lot of cases of possible arrests, but I can't go into those ones right now.
No,
it would be speculating on people's credibility. I don't want to do that.
No, thank you, Fiona. Oh gosh, I really like the analogy of when you're renting space out or whatever you're renting out, you should be held liable at all times. And then the example around just waking up and expecting, assuming there will be internet. It's like when you take a shower in the morning, you go and you switch on your shower, and there's water. You don't know where it's coming from. You're only concerned when there's an outage. And the difference between this kind of outage and an internet kind of outage, with outages, there's scheduled maintenances. On this day, there's load shedding. On this day, there's a maintenance. On this day, there was a pipe burst. And then we know the engineer who's going to come in and resolve this matter. We know it's only a maintenance schedule for 9 to 5. We know this. But with the internet, we don't know, and we're not likely to know, and we don't have those structures in case a total shutdown happens. I'm really worried about that. But despite these challenges, Fiona, are you optimistic Africa can avoid this trap?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
I'm extremely optimistic because the governments have come through, and it's not just been Mauritius. I'd like to appreciate the support that has come in through Smart Africa. The CEO of Smart Africa has done a lot of running around to try and get things into perspective, to try and build a community consensus, even of possible candidates during the last elections.
Okay.
And they're still willing to do that right now. Smart Africa has come through as a good friend to the community.
That's fantastic.
So while they are not telling us do this, they're saying, no, we need to actually consider this, and then facilitating engagement and platforms. So ministers have been briefed.
Okay.
They are aware. The regulators have been briefed.
Okay.
They are interacting with the community to just get consensus and agreement on suitable candidates who can be put on the board. So I need to appreciate the input from Lucina of Smart Africa, CEO Lucina, and the work that she has done to try and get us, and his team to try and get us into these conversations.
Okay.
There's been an awakening within the ecosystem.
That's the tech ecosystem, yeah.
Yes, the technical community.
Okay.
On the need for us to do what is right.
Okay.
And to agree, put aside our differences, and let us move together as a community. And as that is happening, it is helping us begin to actually reflect on, so what were the differences really?
Yeah.
And also appreciate that though we may think differently and speak different languages, we have the same goal.
One internet. Oh, wow. I like that. It's quite philosophical, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, history, a bit of philosophy. And, when I like the role of Smart Africa, they're playing the perfect mediator. Yes. This is not the time to bicker. This is not the time to, you use your words, point fingers. It's happened. How do we chart our way forward?
Yes.
How do we ensure that the current generation, future generations, everybody is not adversely affected by a potential blackout of the internet? So we will not experience a blackout. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. With where we are at right now, the chances of not experiencing a blackout are higher than they were before.
Okay.
There is an opportunity for us to be able to present our version of the issues to the inspector.
Yes.
And hope that the inspector will put those into consideration. He's not yet called for input yet, because he was just appointed, and I think trying to put his things in order so that he's able to have time and have a schedule, know when he's reaching out to the community, know when he's going through the court cases. So there's quite a bit of work on his plate, but we look forward to the engagement. As TESPOK, we are ready.
You're smiling. You are ready. And when listeners, when Fiona says she's ready, she is very,
I'm very
ready.
I have got my bazookas ready. I'm always armed.
Oh yes, I know it. And it's so great to have, voices such as yours, championing for the very infrastructure that we need for the internet.
Yes.
I mean, we're in the age of AI. Nigeria recently, there's a startup that has somewhat of an AI as a service startup where they have the GPUs, and that's just one. There's an upcoming one in Kenya. I'm referencing back to the AU Continental AI Strategy. Yes. We have countries like Botswana who are now talking tech, instead of relying for, the usual mineral resources. It's now the internet as a resource. From Uganda to, the continent essentially it's technology, and the internet and ICT is no longer a back office operation.
Actually, you move from Cape Town to Cairo, from Nairobi to Accra, the entire continent. The thinking and perception of tech has changed.
It really has.
And the more the young people are getting online, the more they appreciate why it is important for them to be online. They appreciate some of the UN principles that many didn't appreciate before. Communication is a right.
It is.
Being online is a right.
Freedom of speech, regardless of the channel you use, is a right.
Exactly.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much, Fiona. And thank you for shedding light on this critical issue. And before we close, any final words to empower our listeners? What should they walk away knowing? No, we've started this episode. Internet will be shut down. Actually, no, it will not be shut down.
No, we are hoping with where we are at now, there's going to be nobody pulling any rugs from under our feet. So we hope it will not be shut down. My final words would be to internet service providers. Please review your IP resource allocation. Please check if you are in control of all your resources or some third party has control over it. As TESPOK, we are happy to help service providers get out of any crazy arrangements they might have had with third parties so that they are able to participate in the ecosystem directly, exercising and benefit their rights as entities in their own right. We are asking CEOs, CTOs to get reports on their IP resource allocation and to also check into the AFRINIC system to know who is having access to their system, their resources, their accounts on the AFRINIC platform. We are asking the civil society to help us create awareness so that the customers are paying attention to who their service providers are. Because as a customer, you also want to be served by a legitimate service provider.
You do.
Not some entity that is stealing off from others and coming to serve you on the pretext of being a service provider. Make sure your service provider has got the required licenses from the regulators. Because that also then kills some of the market opportunities for IP brokerage that may have existed. So especially with third parties who are taking other people's IP addresses. So I would ask then the governments also to be keen as they go digital. We talk about the digital economy. This is really the heart of the digital economy that is being interfered with. Governments should not blink.
No. And from what you've said, they're not blinking.
No. So far, the Smart Africans make sure they're not blinking.
They're not
please
blinking.
Continue. Should not blink. They should have their eyes wide open and keep watching to enable us get to where we need to get to. And I think everybody really has a role to play in making sure that we ethically are using the internet for the right things and in the right way. Remember, technology is as good as those using it.
It's as good as the people.
So it really comes down to the people. If we are ethical, we'll go on in ethical ways, and that ethics will propagate and support future generations. When we are unethical, this is where we find ourselves.
Garbage in, garbage out. One of my favorite books, Technology Fallacy. It's not about the tech. It's about the people and the processes. And this is what essentially you're trying to fix. Fix the process, work with the people, and it's going to lead to one internet.
True.
Well, thank you so much, Fiona. And listeners, you've heard it first. Look out for your internet. Protect your internet. Protect your customers. Cushion yourself from external actors. And we've still not talked about the cybersecurity side, but we'll talk about that much later.
I think we'll have to have several phases of this conversation.
We will, actually. We will have multiple conversations about this. Thank you so much, Fiona. And from me, protecting Africa's digital sovereignty today ensures true independence tomorrow. You've been listening to Tech Talk Africa. I'm Stella Gichuhi. If today's discussion resonated, please subscribe, share, and stay engaged. Until next time, stay informed, stay sovereign, and keep Africa's digital future in African hands.